power of one. The city of Philadelphia has been faced with so many very hard times. The COVID-19 pandemic, the alarming increase of homicides and shootings, and on October the 26th, Walter Wallace Jr. lost his life in front of his parents, some family members, and community members. The incident that took place with Walter Wallace was tragic, and it caused the city of Philadelphia, the police department, to evaluate how officers respond to those who have mental illness. Today, I will be speaking with Dulcina Cookes, whose mother suffers from mental illness. Welcome to the show, Dulcina. Dulcina, please tell me about your mother and her mental illness.
Okay, so my mother, she is 51. She's bipolar and schizophrenic. And she also has MS on top of her illness. She was diagnosed with MS back in 2016, and she's always been mentally ill from what I've known. It's been like a battle because, the last couple of years has gotten worse instead of getting better due to different medications that they prescribed for her. So it's a little tough.
Okay. Did you or your family ever have to call 911 for your mother? And what was that experience like for your family?
Yeah, we have to call. Normally, when you're 302ing someone, you have to. It's part of their process. Sometimes you can take the person in. For our family, normally we will call. And normally when the police come out, they're supposed to bring a certain type of unit out to the location. They're not allowed to, touch the patient or anything like that until this unit does arrive. So normally what happens is if the police first come, they'll let you know like, hey, we're not capable of handling the situation, so we have to wait for a unit to come out. Or if you're comfortable enough, you can take the patient to the hospital or wherever it is that they're going. That's normally what's supposed to happen. But sometimes that's not always the case.
Okay. Tell me about an experience that you or your family had to call 911 for your mother.
Well, it was a couple months ago. My mom went missing for like a few days. We didn't know where she was. We looked for her. I looked for her for about I want to say 20 minutes. I ended up finding her. But due to COVID, you just can't go into the hospital, just drop anyone off anymore. You have to call out to the police to have them come, but you also have to have 302 papers written up for it. So that was the case for us. I had to get in touch with her case manager to have the paperwork written up first. So we had the paperwork written up. They told us that we had to call, I believe it's the Diligence Mental Health Department that you have to contact in order to have them come out to, pick them up. But normally you will call 911 and then they'll come out. What happened with us is the police came out and they, told us that they weren't able to handle the situation due to her having MS and having, being bipolar and schizophrenic. So they told us that instead of us, them taking her to the hospital, we took her ourselves, but they escorted us to the hospital with that situation.
Okay. But your mom wasn't irate at that time. You guys just needed help for her for something else.
Right. She wasn't too irate. She wasn't really all over the place and not wanting to be touched or anything like that. But she was okay enough for us to handle her instead of having a police officer, actually handle her.
Okay. And you indicated that your mother was missing. So with some mental illness, and you use the word patient, so I want to use the language that you're using. So you indicated that your mom was missing for a while. So tell me about that piece with your mom going missing and her mental illness.
Okay, so a lot of times with just speaking on what she has and what I have experienced with her, a lot of times, they have the option of taking their medication. A lot of times what happened with her is that she doesn't want to take her medication. Or she'll skip a couple of days, and then that causes them to get into a stage of roaming, is what they call it. So they'll leave, they'll leave out of the house, or she'll leave out of the house early in the morning, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and she'll just roam the streets for whenever her mind tells her to go back home. So that's normally what happens with her. In this case, she left, she didn't take her medication for whatever, how many days. And she was on the street for about like four days.
Okay. What's the longest that your mother has ever been on the street or has roamed the streets?
That was the longest. I've never experienced anything like that before. She's never went missing. She always comes back home. Yeah, she always comes back. So this was new and interesting, just to see that she didn't want to come back home, or she didn't make her way back home or to a loved one's house at all. So it was interesting. We still never really figured out why she went missing for so long. Or what told her in her mind, like, hey, like, you have to leave this house now. We never got down to that. But we're just happy, she's back now, and, we're trying to get her stable now. So,
Do you guys know where she was?
to be honest, it's interesting with her being bipolar and schizophrenic. She was in and out of the hospital. So she would go to one emergency room, and then she would leave, and then she'll roam the streets, and then she'll go back to the emergency room and go to streets, and then she'll just be roaming the streets until she's ready to go back to the hospital. So that's what I kind of figured is happening. But I'm not too totally sure as far as what happened with those 4 days that she was missing. But we do know that she was like going in and out of the hospital and discharging herself. So it wasn't like she was staying there for, those 4 days.
Okay. Now, with your mom's mental illness, did you or your family, were you trying to place her somewhere? Is it not affordable? Talk to me about the help that you and your family has tried to get for your mother. Is it readily available in the city of Philadelphia? Are you in need of help with your mother who suffers from a mental illness? Tell me a little bit about that piece.
So with my experience dealing with the mental health department in Philadelphia, I'm not going to shame it or say that it's bad, but it does need help. Um, a lot of these resources that we have, it's like, you go to one place and then they send you to another place, then they send you to another place. So it's like you're just running in circles and trying to find somebody to help you. A lot of times the case managers are overworked a lot. They have too many people on their cases. So it's very hard for them to get back to you and be a little bit more intimate with you and just your family. That's been like a big thing for us. And I sympathize with the case managers because I understand it's a lot of people out here that are, mentally ill. A thing me and you talked about before was, people that are homeless. A lot of times with them, they're mentally ill. And this could easily be my mom at the end of the day. With her, you're bipolar and you're schizophrenic and you're running the streets. Your rent and things are not being paid for. So then what happens? You end up on the streets. And a lot of times that happens to a lot of people that are on the streets now. They don't have family members that can come in and step in and say, hey, let me help you with this. Even just with trying to find a facility, like right now we're in the process of trying to find her a facility, and a lot of them are out of the city. Like one of the places that I found is in Lehigh County, and then you have all these stipulations on that because it's like, if you're not a resident of Philadelphia, you can't reside in this county. So it's a lot of things that play when it comes to getting these people settled into homes, or finding them jobs, or just any type of assistance that they need. Even when it comes to taking them to the doctors, because they have these mental illness, you know, a lot of times you see the doctors pushing them to the side. We dealt with that this week, you know, taking her to a doctor's appointment. It's kind of like they didn't really want to listen. They just, you know, oh, this is Demona, so we're just going to call it what it is, because you know she comes in all the time with the same thing. So it's just kind of like they brush them to the side, not really listen to what is really going on with them. Um, at times, until you put your foot down, and then you're like, okay, you know, I need you to listen. I need you to hear me. Or, you know, if you have someone that's there to kind of step in and say, hey, this is what's going on. Gratefully enough for me and my family, you know, I'm here, I'm able to step in and handle all of the things that she's not able to handle. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people, you know, don't have that. You have a lot of families that just get tired of dealing with their loved ones and they just give up on them. And majority of the time they end up being homeless, or, you know, just house hopping, or, you know, just on different drugs, or, you know, even prescribing drugs for themselves, you know, taking street drugs. So a lot of times it can always end up in a bad situation, if you don't have that support system out here for you. And it's very, very thin of support system for people with mental illness.
And that is my next question. Being a caregiver, period, can be very, very draining. But we love our loved ones. And like you said, that for those who do not have loved ones, that might be some people that you see out on the street. But being a caregiver, again, is a very, very hard job. So for you, do you have a full-time job? Is your mother living with you? How is it for you to be able to care for your mother who has a mental illness? Does that put your life on hold? Tell me about that.
Um, it has changed a lot for me. Normally I am like hustling, I'm working 3 or 4 jobs, but this has put me on a pause. So now I'm not working. I'm taking care of her full time. Um, so she's staying with me now, and you know, it's a ongoing thing every day. You know, you have to get adjusted to their schedule. It's no longer about you, about what you were doing, how many cups of coffee you were drinking, you know, in the morning. It's all about them. So you have to really change your life to make sure that they are okay first, and then you come second. And I do believe that is challenging for a lot of people, to be able to just stop your life, you know, and have to deal with someone that has mental illness, or just have any type of, you know, illness at all. It's been very challenging for me. But I love my mom, and at the end of the day, you know, I would do anything for her. If I have to, you know, stop my life, you know, for her, then that's what I have to do. And it's an eye opener for me because I don't have children yet. So to deal with all of this with my mother, it's kind of preparing me, you know, to have children, because it's a lot of things that I didn't know that I'm learning now, you know, especially with her mental illness. This kind of puts you in a state of, you know, you're dealing with a child almost. So it's very eye opening, to see, you know, how people are treated with mental illness, how you handle them, um, and just getting accustomed to them, you know, and having them tell you what's going on, instead of you, you know, just taking on what you're going to do for that day.
And I am glad that you decided to take care of your mother, of whom you love, which makes my heart glad. And you indicated before that she is a roamer, and sometimes that she'll leave like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. How do you handle that in the wee hours of the morning? Are you asleep? Do you have your alarm clock? Do you have a security alarm on your door so you can hear it when she opens the door? How do you handle that situation?
So now that is very tricky. We are in the stage now of dealing with that. For me, I haven't had to deal with that, with her leaving. So the thing is, one thing I've noticed about my mother is that when she's on her own and she has more independence to do whatever, she's going to roam. But when she has more of a structured place, and someone is saying, hey, did you take your medication, are you okay, did you take a bath or whatever it is, she's not roaming as much. She hasn't roamed since she's been with me, except for once, and that's due to her wanting a cigarette. So it's little things that you kind of got to look out for. But that goes with getting to know them as you deal with them day to day, what it is that they want. It's interesting because I haven't put any new locks on the door or anything like that. It's almost like having a newborn baby. You're in and out of sleep all night, just making sure that they're okay, checking in on them. So that's a big routine for me now. It's just kind of getting up periodically out of the day and just checking in on her and making sure she's okay. Sometimes I do have to step out when she's taking a cigarette and, just make sure she's still there, sitting on the step. But nothing really for me has changed. I have been looking into different resources like the ring light and different things like that, just to see, watch her, just in case I want to go back to work, or, to have a caretaker come in if I need to go back to work, like just different things like that. But I haven't changed anything drastically lately as far as her roaming, because she hasn't really been roaming.
That's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So is your mom going to live with you forever? Is this a temporary situation, or are you looking for placement for her? And if you are looking for placement, how is that search going?
She's not going to live with me forever. She does. I feel as though I can't give her the full structured facility that she needs. Like, for me, like, I feel like I can give her what she needs, but I also feel like she needs to be around people. Right now, we are in the process of looking for places. So we found two places. One of the places is here in Philadelphia. We have another place that's out in Lehigh County. And it's been a little tricky with that. This goes back to the mental health department. It's a runaround. So it's like you have to get this from one doctor to send this to the insurance. And it's just, you're playing games with these people as far as, waiting, just waiting, just waiting. If you're not on top of these people and you're not consistently calling and nagging to say, you're not going to get anything done. It's really one of those things where you really have to be consistent with what is going on and let them know that it's urgent, that this needs to be done. So for us, it's just been an ongoing, on the phone all morning, making sure she's okay, back and forth with the insurance, taking her to doctor's appointments, just making sure that everything is okay so that we can try to push the process of getting her into a place.
How long do you think the process will actually take?
To be honest, I can't really say. It could be a month. For me, like, I'm always like speedy. So I'm like, oh, 2 weeks, 2 weeks will be fast, but it's
Right.
never that way. It's never that way. Cause like I stated, you have to wait for the insurance, you have to wait for the doctors. And then once you get all that done, then you have to wait for the facility to process the paperwork. So it could be a month, it could be 2 months, 3 months. It just depends. And then another thing is it depends on if the facility has availability. So for me, gratefully enough, one of the facilities, they do have availability.
Mhm.
So I'm like keeping my fingers crossed and my prayers up and just making sure that, I get the paperwork that they need and that they're asking for.
So let me ask you another question. So with your mom going into this facility, and we're still facing the COVID-19 pandemic, how will that work? Will she be able to have visitors?
That I don't know. And it's funny because I haven't even asked. I haven't asked them as far as what the process is going to be. Because one of the facilities that we looked into, it's an open facility. So normally I called it a lockdown facility, which I shouldn't use, but that's what I consider it. It's more secure. So one of the places, they're open. These people are able to, leave and go see family, and do whatever it is that they need to do. And then they're able to come back. They have apartments. It's more set up for them to be independent. Another place that we're looking at right now is more secure. So for people that like my mom, if they roam at night, if they don't come back, or they just like to be on the streets, this is the type of place that you will want for them. It's more secure. They have nurses and doctors and everybody that they need on staff for these people. But I do believe that you have to be tested for COVID before you're able to go into the facility. And I believe it's probably the same thing as far as for family members. It may be, they only allow immediate family into the facilities, and not any friends or cousins or anything like that going into these facilities. So I'm just going to have to see when we get to that point.
That stage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dulcina, tell me something. What is your biggest challenge in caring for a family member who suffers from mental illness?
Wow. My biggest challenge would be making sure that she's okay, I guess. With her illness and being on so many medications, it's kind of tough to be able to talk to them because they're so zoned out. So I can ask her, hey, are you okay? And she'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm all right. But she doesn't look okay. So that's one of the biggest things for me. I don't know, when, she has a cold, or if she's really in any severe pain, even though she can tell me. Sometimes the medication can have them so out of it that, they don't even have the time to really tell you because they may be asleep, or, just not able to really talk to you. So that is one of the biggest challenges that I have. Everything else is pretty easy. It's just trying to get her to, talk a little bit and, just engage a little bit more. And that's why I stated that she needs to be around more people, and not just me, because it is just me, and I'm not allowing people in my home with COVID because of my mom being sick and me.
Right.
We all have health issues. So, I just want to just keep her safe at all times. So.
I understand. So, and I do thank you for what you're doing for your mom. And I don't think anyone should take it for granted because she's your mom, but because you have a beautiful heart. I thank you so much for what you're doing. And for all of you out there, Dulcina does hair. She's an awesome hairstylist. That's who has been transforming me during my shows. So I will definitely be over your house to see you and to see your mom. So that way you
Yes.
still earn some income while you're caring for your mom. So it is great that you came onto the show to speak to me about mental illness, because there are so many people who are suffering from mental illness, and we want to be able to treat them with the love and respect that is due to everyone. Because you have a mental illness does not mean that you should be treated any differently than anyone else. So Dulcina, I thank you so much for coming on to the show. Please give your mom my best. I thank you, and I know that we'll be speaking soon.
Yes, thank you for having me. Thank you so much just for shedding light on this. We needed it. So thank you again for having me.
You're welcome. I think it's going to be a long road ahead because of what happened in the city of Philadelphia on October the 25th with Walter Wilder. But I think that the change needs to come, and it's about time that it came.
Yeah, most definitely. Just, people just got to get educated, and
That's
just
true.
have patience.
Yeah,
Just have patience, because if you don't, you're not going to succeed in dealing with people with mental illness. So
that's
it's
true.
definitely a hard game, but we'll get through it.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much, Delphina.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for this episode to discuss mental illness. Please understand, everyone who has a mental illness is unique, and they should be treated with care, love, and respect. We have to learn how to properly interact and treat those with mental illnesses to ensure all of their needs are met. I want to personally thank all of those who have devoted their life to working with people who have mental illnesses. You are truly a gift from God. Thank you for joining me. God bless.